Oh, it's a good show.
I like the reverb.
It's coming up.
Otherworldlyculture.com.
And I'll listen. Hold on a second. And I'll listen. Hold on a second. An umpire and a vampire square off week after week, reviewing movies outside their own strike zone. This week's movies: the 1975 Rollerball and the 1931 Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff, James Caan, Maud Adams, Mae Clark, John Houseman, and Moon Pie. Now two guys who will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today, as long as it's from the local in Muskego. Tim Crutchman and Jeff Miller.
Major. Is it over?
It's not over until it's over, Yogi.
All
Hey.
right.
Hey, everybody. Hey,
Welcome to the show, everyone.
our Halloween special.
What just happened? Okay, is it?
It kind of is because
Yeah, kind of.
if
yeah,
you think
it's
of
Tuesday.
if you think of the movie,
coming up.
it's Thursday.
The-
Today's
but
Thursday,
Halloween is on Tuesday.
and we don't have a show on Tuesdays.
Correct.
Should we have a special one?
No.
But I think
What a great idea to not do that.
But I think of all the times that we have horror movies linked up, and we had a couple weeks off, this kind of lined up perfect. I think if you think of Halloween, you think of the movie that I reviewed,
Yeah.
which is Frankenstein. I mean, what better Halloween movie than Frankenstein?
And if you're looking for the horror bowl, then you can watch James Caan and Rollerball like I did this week.
Yeah.
All right. Now, remember, everybody, he's the...
What happened?
there.
My stuff went. Wait. Oh,
It's right there.
major.
His... Oh, thank you. Okay. He's the ump. He's Jeff. He's a sports fan, so we make him watch horror movies. I'm the vamp, and I have to watch
Sports
horror
movie.
sports movies.
And you know what?
Did I say that you watch sports movies?
No, you said horror.
Okay.
But the thing of it is that this is also a special show. Not only that there's a major announcement coming, but Tim just had a birthday yesterday. Happy
I
birthday,
did.
Tim.
I am quite elderly now. I am 612 years old. It's been a long slog for me.
But you're doing well.
It has. I look about 592.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
So, yeah, I think so. Roy Scheider. Roy Scheider was 75 when he passed away in
What?
2008.
Roy Scheider. Are you
Roy Scheider.
William
2008?
Shatner?
I'm surprised
Wait,
he's been
William
passed
Shatner? Who are you talking about?
from Jaws.
Oh,
You were asking
Quinn.
about him earlier, and thank goodness we have the world's top chat room ready to research and basically error correct the two
so
of us at any moment.
2008. So that means that.
Because you make a lot of mistakes.
So that means he's passed for a while, and I thought he was still alive. Who knew?
Well, then you don't know that.
No. So
Yeah.
So it
All
would
right.
be hard to have a Jaws reunion then.
It would be problematic, yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's roll.
Let's get things started. We're going to start with my movie this week. And the movie that I am going to be reviewing is called Rollerball.
You got to go one way.
Yeah, like that a little bit. Rollerball was made in 1970. What?
1975. Come on.
What are you laughing about now?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. That's typical.
What'd I do?
Rollerball 1975 is a movie that unbelievably came in at 125 minutes long, given that it has absolutely no plot. But I did ask
Tim!
AI. What?
Tim.
I'm kind of showing my
There
hand.
was a plot.
Well, I'm going to tell you what AI told me because I punched it in for the summary and it helped me write my
Okay.
review.
Fair enough.
AI says Rollerball is a sci-fi film from 1975 that depicts a dystopian society where corporations rule the world and a violent sport called rollerball is used to suppress individuality and dissent. The film follows Jonathan E., the star player of the Houston Rollerball team, who defies the corporate executives who want him to retire and become a symbol of resistance. The film is based on a short story by William Harrison and directed by Norman Jewison. It features James Caan, John Houseman, Maude Adams, and Ralph Richardson in the main roles.
Do you think because James Caan is Jewish that Norman Jewison picked him for the role?
No.
Okay.
I think because he was a red-hot actor at the time.
He was.
And he's like the only person I've ever seen that when roller skating does not look like a complete pansy.
No, he looked good
He
in
did
this
not look
movie.
like he was doing the ice capades.
No.
He looked tough. So that had to be part of it. Now, you just heard what AI said.
Uh-huh.
I have so many problems with their description, and it helps me explain my problems with the movie itself. Like, one of the things they say in the description is this was a dystopian society. I ask you, you watched the film.
I did, absolutely.
Did it seem like a dystopian society, like totally falling apart and it's dying?
No.
It seemed like a utopian society. Everything was clean. Everything was new and modern. Now, was there a lot of difference? No, because they used the same font on absolutely everything.
Isn't that cool font?
But we never see any suffering except for the athletes that get their heads bashed in. So could this be like The Purge, where because this is such a violent sport that the rest of society became less violent? You really don't know because, let's face it, this was based on a short story, and even though they bloated this thing to 125 minutes, they really didn't develop anything. There's no crime, no grime. Everyone moves around in helicopters. There's not a single car in the film. You know, you would think there'd be a future car, or the closest you come are the motorcycles that they ride around on. And they look very 70s. They're 70s with a little bit of stainless steel stuck on the side.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. To make it, make it look futuristic.
I honestly, my e-bike looks a little more futuristic than that thing.
And this is supposed to take place in 2018.
Right.
So keep that in mind.
It's already
people.
in the past.
Yeah.
So it says he's a symbol of resistance. I don't think I see that.
No.
I mean, people are chanting for him, but it's because he's the best player out there.
It's like cheering for LeBron or Michael Jordan or whatever.
We don't even know that anybody outside the inner circle is aware this is going on, because they have this big television announcement thing and it kind of peters out on the multivision. And it's like, they're just cheering for their favorite athlete. So I don't buy that he was some sort of like freedom fighter there. We never see the actual motive for him not to retire. It seems kind of like the crappiest job in the entire universe of this movie.
Honestly, Tim,
he's well off, but we have no idea if everyone is that well off. Because
I don't think
honestly, when he's walking around, like the scene where he goes to the library, right? Nobody really recognizes him. Here he's this celebrity. He isn't signing autographs. People aren't rushing up to him. He's just walking around.
But he has a full supply of those hats.
He
gives away a new hat every time.
He has like 500 hats in this movie. It's so ridiculous.
But it's all this. They're all the same.
And the funny part about it is that's the only thing where you go, oh, that's kind of outside of the 70s. That's a little bit different fashion choice. Everything else looks like you could have taken it out of Slapshot, one of your previous classic films. That one being a good one.
Oh, no.
Now, here's the thing. I think he is better off than everybody else.
Yes.
Because in the period of this movie, which is like, what, 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, that's about it. Really, about 3 weeks.
He goes through 3 women in that space.
And they keep providing them for him.
And they keep, yeah. It's like, he's I think he dials them up on Uber Eats. It's like, I'd like a brunette this time, please. And everywhere, just like all the sports movies that Jeff idolizes, they're pill popping all over the place.
Tim.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about the pill popping in here. They appear to have all the strength of a Tic Tac. because there's no like actual consequences. You don't see people getting high or getting
because
excited. They're just like, yeah, I guess it freshens my breath.
These are dream pills. They help you dream a different life.
Whatever.
Just so you know.
There's a scene in this movie where they murder trees.
That was a weird scene. I didn't get that.
And they're fueled in that. They're not fueled by the pills, which you would think, okay, they're all goofed up on pills. They're fueled by liquor. Well, that's been going on since, I don't know, the 70s. You know, it's been going on forever. So the only thing that was kind of futuristic there is they were blowing up 40-foot trees with like a pistol.
But
they had a
what
boom,
was the
and it was
purpose of
basically
that?
a
Just to
cannon.
show that they could do it because they were so high society?
I think what they were trying to show is that there was no consequence for the higher.
Okay. All right.
That's the only thing I could think of.
It was stupid. That was a stupid scene.
Well, that can be said for every scene that does not include a roller rink in this film.
Yeah.
This movie is
too long.
Deadly slow between
It's also too long.
Matches. And Khan, he simply mumbles his way through his dialogue.
True.
He never seems determined or enthused on his path. He just is. Like they say, we'd like you to retire. I'd rather not. What? Show some passion. James Caan is known for his hot temper and all that. He doesn't show his temper outside of the rink. He does not show his temper. He's just kind of like sleepwalking through this role. James Caan, I believe at one time somebody asked him what's the movie about, and he said 120 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, he didn't even get that right. It's 125 minutes. So I think this is much like some of the later Bruce Willis movies or Harrison Ford movies where he's just like, I'm just going through the motions.
Take a paycheck.
Get the paycheck. But at least in this utopian future, they have this font instead of Comic Sans. Could you see?
I like this.
I do like the font. And that's why I was kind of like, this is utopia. You don't see Comic Sans at all.
No.
You know, there also is about 12 zooms of the lens per minute in this movie.
I like it.
They're kind of.
I kind of liked it.
It should have been shot in 3D.
But you know what? That was a homage to, or what they were trying to make it towards. Clockwork Orange. There's a lot of that in there. They're saying that that's where they pulled this from. That it was an homage to that.
They say that.
Just saying.
I think it had more to do with when they compare this to Clockwork Orange. It's because there was a classical music score, which, as we all know, kids, is public domain, and you don't have to pay for it.
Did you feel like you were watching Clockwork
Orange?
No.
No. Clockwork Orange is a great movie. This movie is garbage.
But with the insides of the buildings, it didn't seem
garbage.
Everything seemed very clean and very pristine.
Have you watched Clockwork Orange?
No.
Recently?
Not in a long
pretty
time.
Filthy. It's kind of filthy.
But didn't it seem futuristic like that?
There are some... The only thing that's futuristic in this film, to me, is the architecture. When they do the establishing shots. But when they don't have any special, like, telephones.
Well,
they don't have any tech.
2018.
They don't have their computer.
Let's talk about that, Tim, because that was crazy. That computer that talked to you. Let's talk about that.
A computer in water.
I know. Help me out with that.
Right. I'm not going to help you with it. I think it's terrible.
It seemed weird. It did.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Let's be clear. In 1975, computers were just joining the public consciousness. You were still on mainframes. I believe you were still on transistors at that point. I'm not sure if we even had silicon chips at that time. So, I can't sit there and say, well, they don't show super graphics or anything. Okay, but there are other movies that were put out around the same time. I'm thinking of like Colossus, the Forbin Project, and 2001, I think, came out previous to this.
Hell.
looked at computers a little more intelligently. I liked the idea that they put out there about whether getting rid of all books and they're basically scanning them in. That basically is what Project Gutenberg is, and there's a lot of projects to try to digitize all written media and stick it out on the internet. But that was maybe the only look into the future that I thought was interesting. I always have a problem when it's like, oh, the corporations are taking over. The corporations are taking over. Anybody that's worked for a corporation, no, they barely can run the business they're in. They're not going to be able to take things over. They're just, it's a terrible model for it. It's just never going to happen. It's just kind of ridiculous. So I always hate
But just help me with this. So he went in there and they went to ask this computer a question, and the computer got screwed up. I mean, what? I didn't understand that scene.
The scene was kind of crap like the rest of the film.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you. It was so frustrating because I will state this. The scenes on the rink, they were filmed professionally, and you could see what was going on, and those were interesting. Not great. I mean, they could have been more interesting, but they were at least engaging. Okay.
Well, no, but one more quick thing. I'm usually 100% behind the films that I give Tim. And on this, I can say that there are some points in here where I tuned out. They're walking through the forest. There's a lot of they could have cut
the
this
scene with his ex-wife, Maud Adams.
They could have cut out a lot of this.
I am in love with Maud Adams. Okay, I love her. The scene with her, I had to keep pounding on my leg to keep myself awake because it was like, what is this? It was like this existential nonsense that they're going through. And I'm like, I know they're trying to build that he has a motive about this, but they haven't established it. They didn't earn the scene.
No.
That was my problem. Had he stood up to John Houseman at some point, or he would have said, I am not going to retire. I still have a lot of years left ahead of me. He would have said any reasoning for what he was doing instead of, I'm just not going to do it. Then the scene is earned. It doesn't seem like he even knows that they're setting him up to get killed by changing the rules.
Right.
It doesn't even seem like he understands that. And I just sit there and I go, what the hell? Okay.
Could they have gotten this movie down under to 240 or 140? 140, 145?
They could have got it down to a 30-minute Twilight Zone.
Okay, enough with that.
Okay.
Whatever.
It wouldn't have been that great. It's time for the Horror Movie Connections, kids, where I go through the list of the staff and we take a look at how they did.
30 minutes, whatever.
Here we go. James Caan, he has 5 horror credits out of 137 films.
He was in horror movies?
He was mostly forgettable garbage.
Yeah.
But he is uncredited at the beginning of Santa's Sleigh, which is one of my guilty pleasures, which has Bill Goldberg playing a maniacal murdering Santa Claus.
Okay.
It's insane. And James Caan is in there and he's hysterical in that. So that's one I will recommend. John Houseman actually had 50 films to his name, most of them late in his life.
It looks like Hitchcock.
He became famous because of the movie The Paper Chase, and he got Oscar buzz and all that. But he actually is out of these 50 movies, he has 3 horror credits, which gives him a 6%. Those 3, 2 of them are huge horror movies, The Fog and Ghost Story. What have you done to that computer today?
So let me ask you about Ghost Story real quick. Ghost Story, I remember that being shown up at Parkland Mall on the Parkland Twin. Mm-hmm. But I never saw the movie, but I hear that it's a very scary movie. Is that correct?
A lot of people really like it.
Yeah.
I'm not one of the huge fans of Ghost Story.
That's what I've always heard, though.
Be interesting. How about those of you in the chat room? tell me if you're pro Ghost Story or anti. The thing that's incredible about Ghost Story is the cast. They have Houseman. I know they got Fred Astaire. I'm trying to remember the other
Fred
people.
Astaire?
Fred Astaire late in his life.
Get out of here.
I'm trying to remember the others, but it's like four. I think James Cagney was in there. I'm
what?
trying to remember.
Wow.
It was like an incredible elderly actors film. It does have nudity. It's got some violence in there, but I just it didn't connect with me. It is based on a 1970s like paperback horror novel, which I don't know if you noticed this back in the 70s and 80s, but there was like a huge horror novel like renaissance. A lot of it fueled because of Stephen King. But if you went to like a grocery store and you looked at the magazine rack, there was usually a book rack next to it, and they had at least a couple horror titles, and they always had incredible paperback.
Really?
Covers.
All right, I'll give you
they were incredible. They were crazy. That's when like Exorcist popped, and a lot of those things. They did not have a novelization of Human Centipede, which I know you keep begging for me to give to you.
Would Ghost
Maud
Story
Adams.
scare me? Do
What?
you think Ghost Story would scare me?
Yes.
Oh, then I don't want to see it.
Okay. This is Maud Adams.
Yes, Maud.
She made 3 horror films out of her 45. She was in Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, which kind of tells you at that point in her career, she was searching. John Beck, sometimes known as Moon Pie. Moon Pie, he had 113 films to his name. 5 of them were horror, which puts him at a 4.4%. He was in a Twilight Zone in the 1980s, in the 1983 run of Twilight Zone. And he was in a pretty famous horror movie called Audrey Rose.
I wish they
I'm
would.
not yet saying.
I wish they would have did a little backstory on how he got Moon Pie. I would love to have known how they got that.
I was glad for everything they didn't tell you because I just wanted it to be over.
All right.
This is Moses Gunn. He's had 77 films, 7 of which were horror credits, puts him at 9.1%, which makes him the biggest percentage in the movie so far down our list. He was in Firestarter. He was in Amity Horror 2, but most of those credits were various TV horror films.
Is Firestarter with Drew Barrymore?
Correct.
Okay.
Pamela Helmsley. Now, did she look familiar to you? She was like the first woman that James Caan was bagging.
She did, but she didn't.
Okay. She has 39 credits. Yeah, she only has 1 horror credit, Double Exposure, which I've never seen. She is best known as Prince Ardala in the Buck Rogers TV show in the 70s.
I know who
she
that
was
is.
also in the TV show Matt Houston. She was like the girl Friday or a side piece, whatever she was.
Buck Rogers, I know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I saw her and I'm like, is that her? Is that her? And it turned out it was. Now, Ralph Richardson, he was the guy that ran the computer. He had a long career, 92 movies that he made. 4 of them were horror credits. Only puts him at a 4.3. Probably best known as the Supreme Being in Time Bandits. But he did play the Crypt Keeper in Tales from the Crypt, the 1972 version.
He was the Crypt Keeper?
He was, but not the puppet.
Oh, all right.
This was an earlier iteration. And he was in the movie Whoever Slew Auntie Roo. Now, here's our top horror percentage. At 28.6, she was the middle piece, between Pamela and Maud. Her name is Barbara Trentham.
Okay.
She has a total of 7 movie credits.
Okay.
2 of them were horror. Death Moon TV movie and The Possession of Joel Delaney, which I immediately put into my queue because I'm like, I've never heard of this before. But the credit that cracked me up was she was one of the love interests on the TV show The Man Called Sloane. Do you remember this at all?
Nope.
Robert Conrad. This was a movie, TV show I just thought was great. I recently revisited an episode. I think was out on YouTube, and it was pathetic. But it was Robert Conrad, and he was like a super spy, and he had an African American like sidekick that had like a metal claw for a hand, and he could take it off and put on like a drill or all sorts of stuff. It was
nice.
It was kind of sci-fi James Bond type thing after all the spy stuff was kind of already dead. But they needed to keep Robert Conrad employed. And this guy, Shane Rimmer, he was kind of like the coach of Rollerball.
Yep.
Listen to this. 171 movie credits.
Get out of here.
More than any of the rest. In fact, more than sometimes 2 or 3 of the other folks on our list. His horror credits include The Hunger with David Bowie, and he was in the most recent Dark Shadows film with Johnny Depp and that thing. But I looked at him and I'm like, who's that guy? Who's that guy? Who's that guy? I couldn't figure it out. I finally figured it out when I checked his IMDb. He was Commander Carter in The Spy Who Loved Me. So we have 2 Bond alumni here.
Yeah.
We have Shane Rimmer, and of course,
Maud
was the titular Octopussy. So that is our horror movie connections for Rollerball. Thanks for indulging me once again with that. I think it's time for me to give you my score.
Where's the Pauly Shore connection?
Oh, you know what? I do have a Pauly Shore connection.
Yes,
you
everybody
ready?
waits for that. I do.
Okay, here it is.
Because I tried to figure out
Pauly Shore!
But
of course, I was going to pick James Caan. Because, I mean, why wouldn't you pick James Caan to do your Pauly Shore connection through? James Caan is a 2 because you go to Night of 100 Stars with John Schneider. And then John goes to a movie called Whiskey Business.
I like it.
Whiskey Business with Pauly Shore. Now, I heard it was going to be a comedy, but then they hired Pauly Shore. Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, that's that. It is score time.
Oh, God.
You can thank my brother for this. You got a 2.
No, that can't be.
You got a 2.
You got to think that over,
I
Tim.
gave you an extra 1 from where I originally was going to give you a grade on that.
You got to be kidding me. There's a lot of killing in this, a lot of murder.
There is a lot of murder. You know what it also had? Time for me to catch a nap. I really dislike this movie.
Man.
I really sincerely, and I thought the action sequences were actually fairly well shot. I mean, Norman Jewison has made some good movies. He made the original Thomas Crown Affair. He made Moonstruck, he made the remake of Thomas Crown Affair. He did Moonstruck, Fiddler on the Roof, and Justice for All, but sci-fi is not his bag, and the story was just so unengaging.
All right, fair enough.
Couldn't really take it.
Fair enough.
This is the type of movie that actually hurts me to view. So
fair enough.
Sorry about that.
How would the new Rollerball have done? Because
you haven't watched it. You
have not seen that?
No.
Okay.
No, and I don't know that's considered a worse film than
Yeah,
this
I'm not going to take
most.
a chance. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not even really.
Yeah, I'm not taking a chance on that.
I'm not curious, to be honest.
Okay, neither am I.
So anyway,
I heard enough.
You know what? It's time for our break.
Yes. Here we go. Plenty to talk about. Major. Okay. Should I give my major announcement here?
I thought you were going to rant.
No, well, I am, but then I kind of got over it. Here,
Okay, good.
I'll just put it this way. So the Brewers are done, of course, for the year, and the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to the World Series against the Texas Rangers. The Brewers have catapulted 8 teams into the World Series. The Brewers have been in the playoffs 9 times, and they've catapulted 8 teams into the playoffs, into the World Series. Now, during the week, I heard several sports stations say, "Oh, they've allowed 9 teams." That's because they're idiots. It's not 9 teams because in 1982, the Brewers were in the World Series. No, they didn't send any team there. They were there. But because the Milwaukee sports media is so dumb and they cannot think for themselves because one person said it, then that must be right. No, it's 8. Count it out, people. Count it out, it's 8. So that's my rant. Because Milwaukee sports people they just got to get their act together.
He hit the red card.
And the thing of it is that I told these people the right thing, and did anyone take back what they said or said, you know what, we heard this from a listener, we heard this from a source? No. They just kept on going with 9. And 9 is 9 in German, which means no. Anyways, they're Doomkopfs. Back to the rest of the sports that I know about. The Bucks open up their season tonight. They're hosting the Philadelphia 76ers at
How
home.
are they going to do this year?
Here's the thing. They're going to win 62 games. But it doesn't make a difference how many games they win. All they have to do is get in the playoffs because they are going to win the whole thing. They have Damian Lillard, they have Giannis, the Greek Freak, and they have Chris Middleton. The Bucks are going to roll this year, but they are going to win 62 games. Write it down now, and let me remind you when the season's over. Next thing. Tonight, the Buffalo Bills host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On Sunday, the Packers host the Minnesota Vikings, and we'll be curious how that goes. That's a pick'em. Craig Counsell is out trying to get a job in New York or maybe Cleveland, and we can only hope. We can only hope, people. Only hope. And then that's about all. And the Admirals play this weekend. Should I give my major announcement?
Yeah, why don't you?
There's a major announcement this week. I don't know if you heard about it. It comes with a heavy heart that I have to tell our faithful listeners and viewers that I will be pulling out of the 2026 mayoral race for Muskego. So I would like all my supporters to put your support towards Mayor Rick in his re-election campaign.
So your wife finally got a hold of you and said, stop it.
Mayor Rick is a fine mayor, and we need to support him 100%. I will not be running for office in 2026.
Oh, that's great. Oh, thank God somebody's got a hold of you. All right. Well, thanks. That was awesome.
Major
Announcement. You know what time it is. Here it comes.
I love March Madness.
I love March Madness.
Everybody does.
We love Exler's mom. We do. That's awesome.
Yeah, but you don't say...
Oh, X-Man. The X-Man mom.
Yeah, okay. Here we go.
Let's make some merch money.
Yep. And I can do that now that I'm not going to be mayor. Our product speaks for itself.
Do you remember this? You probably don't
No, I
remember
don't.
this.
Open it up, Muskego style!
Perfect for the house.
I thought that was perfect for Halloween. It's actually available at all the suburbia locations. Some people had asked which locations in particular.
Isn't there
It's
one
all of
only
them.
available like on Lincoln Avenue or Greenfield Avenue?
I
what I'm
think
talking about,
there is
right?
one, yeah.
Yeah, it's on one of those avenues.
I think it's across from Moe's.
You know what? Yes, yes,
Tavern?
Greenfield.
Yeah.
You know what? We're gonna in 2 weeks when I serve, I'm serving up Suburbia.
Okay. Let's talk about Horror Realm, which is coming March 1st through the 3rd. And just a great guest list. You can check out the whole thing at horrorrealmcon.com.
Okay.
If you do a Google search or a Bing search on Horror Realm, it comes right up. It's hard to remember that con.com.
Why would
business.
you set it up like that then?
I believe somebody else took horrorrealm.com.
Oh, really?
At the time. I don't know, but that's my guess. But a lot of great guests. R.A. McLeod from Texas Chainsaw 3. That's Scott Taylor Hampton. She's from Compton. She is from Halloween Rob Zombie. Barbara Crampton, of course, from Reanimator. Bill Moseley, he shows up at everything, even if you don't ask. Charles Band, director of like almost 100 horror films, distributed so many. Dee Wallace from E.T. and Cujo, which Cujo is a movie I'm sure you would love because it has a dog in it.
Is there someone in particular of any of these people here that you are most excited to check out?
You know, Dee Wallace, probably because of E.T., and she's in a lot of horror films. I've met Patty Mullen before.
Mine's going to be Barbara
she's
Crampton.
very nice. Barbara Crampton is an exciting one to get to see.
Yes, she is.
William Forsythe, who's up there right now, he is an incredible actor. I think he's going to be one of those thinking man actors, so I don't know that he's going to be real energetic, but he's such a good actor.
What do you mean, thinking man?
He's
Sort of like
one
me?
of these guys.
Like me?
He's one of these guys that's very introspective.
Like me.
All right, so that's Horror Realm coming soon.
You don't think I'm
in
introspective?
Pittsburgh. We're going now.
You don't think I'm introspective?
I don't.
Watch me do it.
Okay, we're gonna see it right here on Dead on the Bases.
Frankenstein.
You're going.
I know.
Okay.
I'm being introspective.
Oh my God.
1931. It's an hour and 10 minutes long. Let me think a little bit introspectively.
Oh my God.
No, anyways.
I'm
here we
dying.
go. Here
I'm
we go.
dying on it.
So
I'm
so
dying.
so we're going back. So all right. So if I'm reviewing this and not introspective, Jeff. Oh, and did you put up my?
Yes, Jeff at otherworldlyculture.com.
Okay. So
please, people lay off that for a day so that Jeff can catch up again because it's blowing out our storage.
but the thing of it is about that. Yes, I know I'm going to get I'll get a lot of emails about yes, Jeff, you should run in 2026, but that's not going to happen. So please do not email me that. Now back to Frankenstein. So Frankenstein was
Frankenstein
is a 1931 black and white movie,
Yes,
and
it
it's
is.
110 minutes long. No, it's not. Yes, it is. It's 60 and 10 is 70 minutes. It's 70 minutes long. 1 hour and 10 minutes is 70. 60 plus 10. Thank you, Muskego Education.
Thank you, Mr. Thinker.
Yes. Thank you. Introspectively,
God.
I had that wrong.
Oh my
So
God.
anyway, so back to the movie. So you
Yes.
know what? Here, this is so a couple cool things.
Now
about
this movie is 90 years old.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you right at the beginning. Feel free to spoil.
Oh, and I wasn't
because
gonna.
I know you will.
I practiced not spoiling it at home, but here we go.
Sure.
So here's the spoiler effect. So anyways, what's really cool is this movie. So what other movie? This reminds me of another movie that I watched for this Horror Realm thing, or not Horror Realm, for Dead on the Bases, where the guy. Oh, it's the one where the guy is on the haunted house on the hill. The guy comes out in the beginning, and he kind of like prepares you for this movie. That was
Oh
kinda
yeah,
cool.
House on Haunted Hill.
Yes.
Starts with Vincent Price kind of saying,
this-
"We're gonna see a scary movie."
And this guy right here, this is the one that was the professor in this. He comes out, Edward von Schloon. He comes out in the beginning, and it's pretty cool. For some reason, I kind of like that. I don't even know why, but I do.
Well, at the time, this was like shocking. This was scary stuff.
Okay,
And it's hard to watch it today because everybody knows what Frankenstein looks like. And
I can
all
see
that
it
stuff.
being, I can imagine it being scary in 1931 when you don't know what's going on. For me, it wasn't that scary, but that's okay. I have a lot more to
It's a
talk about.
90-year-old movie.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't stand the test of time. But anyways, so back to this flick. I thought that was really cool with the guy coming out. It's really cool. It's a nice table setter. All right, it lets you know something's going down. So now you get into this, and they don't waste any time. You go right to a graveyard, and they're burying a guy. And
It's 70 minutes long. They can't waste time.
But you don't. But going into
Right.
it, you know it's gonna be 70 minutes.
Right.
But the cool thing about this, Tim, is that it's just that's pretty creepy. When you anything in a cemetery, and anything that starts out like that, and it was just very ominous, very creepy.
And what are they doing in the cemetery?
They're burying a guy.
No. They're digging them back up.
Well, but first, no.
Okay, yeah. First they
I'm-
bury them and then they dig them back up.
If you're introspective like I am, you start from the beginning. So what they're doing is they're burying this dude, and the thing of it is that you're like you're hearing the dirt going onto the casket, and it's cool because what they actually did is they put microphones in the casket so that you could hear this.
Okay.
Which I'm sure when you're sitting in a theater in 1931, you're like, holy cow! You almost think that you're in like smell-o-vision in a way. But we're back to this, and so. But here's the thing, though, Tim, it is creepy. And then you got these two guys creeping around watching them bury him, and you're like, this is pretty odd. I mean,
remember 1931. This is not typical,
right?
Everyday stuff. And they're not watching NCIS every night. And
this reminded me of another movie, but I can't remember the name of it. There was a movie that we watched where the guy, he actually picked up stuff. He was very strong. It was I don't know, but Tim had me watch it. But it was sort of like that too, where the guy was out at Horror Realm. He was running with caskets and all that. He was carrying them. It was very heavy.
Oh, Fright Night.
Might have been that, but it wasn't. So that's not the one I'm thinking of. But maybe the guy wasn't at Horror Realm. But anyways, back to the story. So
hold on. Chat room, get to work. Okay.
So here's the thing. So they're checking this out. They dig them back up. They need body parts. And then, Tim, creepier than that is they go to a guy that's hung. A guy that's hung in the gallows. And he sends his little...
Now watch how you say that, please.
I know. Then he sends his little hunchback up there.
You don't want to upset Drap Snap.
They send his little hunchback up there to cut him down. His little hunchback. And that the way he climbs up that pole, it's like he's part monkey.
He went right up there.
I know. He didn't even... I would have been like, if it had been me, I'd be like, I'm not going up there. We're going to figure out a way to get the guy down. But he doesn't care. He goes up there. He's his servant. So now they got all these parts, and
just be like, looks like a lot of work.
That would have been. You know what? I'm always down for stuff, but I'm not down for stuff that I can't do. So when you're thinking about it and you can't do it, you just say no. But then they go to another scene, and now they're in a university, and this guy is talking in front of doctors, and this is that professor, and he's got two brains. And one is a normal brain and one is an abnormal brain. Now, Tim, when his little hunchback goes in there and he drops the normal brain.
Good brain, yes.
Right. He takes the abnormal one back. Now, doesn't Frankenstein or Stein, doesn't he
look at the label?
Yes,
does he abnormal?
Does he not know how to read? He's a doctor.
Yeah.
But he puts it in there. He's like, you know what? Normal, abnormal, potato. We'll put it in.
Toss that in there, baby.
So they're doing all this stuff, and he's living in this lighthouse or wherever he's living in. But those stairs were wicked, weren't they?
Yeah.
Those stairs were wicked. But okay, so they're doing all this stuff.
It's a very vertical set.
It is
very vertical because they're inside of a windmill. People usually think that Frankenstein was set in a castle, like that. No, it was in a windmill, so everything is up and down, like a Polish sex manual.
See, here we go. A Polish one? Did you see Polish?
Yeah, they got to make it easy for them.
Oh, my goodness. Here we go. So, anyways.
Well, it seems to be no stopping them.
So, again, when this being
Catholic on top of it.
Well, this is being 70 minutes long, an hour plus 10 minutes.
Don't say long right after I say that.
Okay. But bump. Anyways, so back to Frankenstein. So they waste no time having this guy slabbed on there. They got a brain in him, and they're well, it is. It's all these different parts of people, and the thing of it is that I don't understand why you need a whole bunch of different parts. Why couldn't you just have one body? Why do you have to have a bunch of bodies? Why?
Because they may not all be working parts. The body did die.
Okay, back to the story.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is that this Frankenstein guy, he was supposed to be getting married. So you find out that his wife his fiance is
like your Jeep is Frankensteined together. There's parts of it that just don't work.
No, my whole Jeep
tire
works. That just yeah. We better never get stopped on the way out to Pittsburgh.
Oh my God!
We're gonna be hitching it.
They're gonna pull that nail out of the tire. And the whole thing.
You know what's still in there? It's still in there. I drive with it every day. We're gonna be driving on that in March too. So here, back to the movie. So the thing of it is that
this is what I deal with.
Me personally, I didn't know the story about this, so I'm like, it's just gonna be about him making a monster. But Frankenstein had a love interest, and he was supposed to be getting married. And Baron von Frankenstein, he's like, oh yeah, my son, he's probably got a side piece up there. That's why he's not here. Blah blah blah. Then all of a sudden, his woman.
That's basically what he says.
Right. I'm not making things up. I spit it.
No, that would
I spit the
require
truth.
creativity. Yeah.
So then Mae Clark, who plays Elizabeth, she's like, no, I love him. I'm going to go up there. So she goes up there, and this whole thing unravels with this, like, he wants to show off and show that he's got this monster, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, see, now I watched this, but now it's kind of garbled in my head. So then what happens is...
Thank God you're introspective.
No, but let me think about it. But anyways, so I think what happened was Henry Frankenstein heads back with his piece, and he's like, you know what? We're going to get married. But in the meantime, he leaves the, like, main guy there. I'm not going to give this away, but he leaves the main guy there, and Frankenstein kills him, and then they're both in this dungeon. But then I don't even know why they let him out of the dungeon in the first place. But then what happens is that he's like...
That way he kills more people.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But then what happens is, you know what? Henry Frankenstein's like, forget it. Let's go get married. So he forgets about this.
I had nothing better to do.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? Let's just forget about it. So he goes to
You're
get
doing
married.
your Frankenstein impersonation. That's
Yeah.
great.
He goes, you know what? Boris Karloff, that was some pretty good stuff. He's going, and he's,
My favorite is when Mae Clark, he sneaks up behind Mae Clark.
Yes.
She turns around and
yeah. Do you know that she was so scared of that costume? You probably know this. Yeah. She was so scared of this costume that Boris Karloff would wag his little finger at her so that she would be not afraid. So in the movie, if you see him wagging his finger, that's so that she'll calm down and not be afraid of the
totally
monster.
Sexual.
But the thing of it is, though, is that this whole scene about, wait a second, this I have to bring up. So going into this movie, thank you, but it wasn't one. But here's the thing. But going to this movie, Tim's like, you're gonna feel sympathetic for you're gonna feel sympathetic for the monster. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to feel sympathetic, but I didn't at all. He's there playing with a little girl, and she's throwing flowers into the lake, and he's like, and he throws her in there, and the next thing you know, she's dead.
Did you look at his face though afterwards?
I did.
You can tell he's like, oh crud, what did I just do?
No, he doesn't know what he did.
Totally
He's a murderer.
Is confused.
So anyways, they go after him. He comes down. He tries to bring up the
great acting moments of the 30s, and it got.
You think
you
so?
missed it. Yeah, it honestly, in some versions of the movie, they cut out that bit of
because it's against a child.
Right. Even though later on you see that he killed the child because that guy goes
and I didn't get that either. Yeah, I want to talk about that
through
too.
Through the city.
What was that all about? What was he trying to prove? He doesn't know who killed her. He doesn't know who killed her.
That is a good point. He's like, the monster murdered my child. How do you know that? You weren't there, and he's drowned. She's drowned. I doubt there's even any sort of signs of struggle, and they certainly don't have CSI to go take genetic material.
She could have drowned on her own, and he being a negligent father.
She's a little girl.
Yeah.
Lots of things happen to little girls.
So, anyways.
Yeah.
He's parading around. Hey, da-da-da-da-da.
Hey, look, I got a dead kid. What have you got? What did you get for the wedding? Here's my wedding gift.
No. But anyways.
I do think that's why he had her.
Anyway.
He's like, I'm going to give this as a wedding gift because I don't want to give anything that's worth anything. I got a daughter.
So everybody's pissed at Frank. So everybody's pissed at Frankenstein for whatever reason. They all have their angst against Frankenstein.
Frankie.
They chase him around, and they got dogs chasing him, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But was that fake scenery behind him? Was that fake? Like,
you have to ask?
I think it was.
It was incredibly fake. In fact, you could actually see the wrinkles in the
I thought
sheet
so.
back there.
I knew it.
They didn't even iron that stuff.
See how introspective I can be?
When they made this movie.
Yeah.
And it's an hour 10. They did not
60 plus 10.
They did not think this was going to be a hit. They're like, we kind of got lucky with Dracula. They wanted to have Bela Lugosi play it.
I can't
and
see him
he
playing it,
did
to tell you the truth.
Well, he's done Frankenstein. I believe it was in Ghost of Frankenstein he played him. But Bela didn't want a nonverbal role. He didn't want a role where he had no lines.
Well, tough cookies.
So Boris Karloff guy, and a lot of people will tell you, this is why Boris Karloff became a bigger star than Bela ever was. Boris did a lot more.
To be honest with you, if you're giving me a movie where I got to talk or a movie where I could just grunt, I'm taking the grunt every time. It's easier.
I think that would be what people want out of this podcast.
No.
That you just grunt.
No. So here's the thing. So I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, we know. There is a grunt watch.
So here's the thing. All right. So they go chasing after not Bela Lugosi.
We have an answer. How he knew that the child was killed by the monster. It's in the chat room right now.
Tell me.
They are saying that he checked his Ring video software.
Yeah, good luck with that.
And that said it.
Good luck with that. Ring software sucks.
By the way, also from the chat room, in the book, the Frankenstein monster is more sympathetic than he is in this movie.
Okay, well, I didn't read the book. I watched the movie.
Right.
So, anyway.
I still think he's pretty sympathetic.
I don't think
ahead.
so. I think he got what he deserved. They go chasing after him. He's hiding out in the windmill. Who knows why? And then, well, I can spoil it.
Yeah, it's 93 years old.
They burn down the windmill, and he may have died or may not have died in the windmill. That's it. No, I wasn't scared. But I'll tell you what. Now that you're showing all this stuff,
Yeah.
that was a cool set there with all the mechanics, the laboratory stuff. That was pretty sharp.
Yeah. Yeah, there's good stuff in
So
this.
you probably want my rating.
I do.
I wonder if you have an idea of what my rating would be.
Sure, I'll put that up there.
Yeah.
No, this is an older film. Now, you didn't have to read subtitles.
Thank God.
So that's a plus in your thing. I think you had never seen it before, correct?
No,
So you probably knew, though, of it and knew a lot of the
I
stuff.
never knew anything of it.
Really?
I know Abbott and Costello.
Okay.
And I know Robert De Niro.
Okay. I'm gonna say you're in the middle somewhere, like a 5, 6, 7. Something.
I give it a 7.
Okay. I mean,
I think it's
the
a good
big
movie for
plus
people to watch.
I think the big plus is it's 70 minutes, folks.
Yep.
And there are people that say this movie is not as good as Bride of Frankenstein, which is the sequel. I'm actually going to watch Bride of Frankenstein in the next couple of days so that I have them both fresh in my mind. But I understand where people come from, but I kind of want to watch them both very close to each other and see what I think.
So
One of the things this movie doesn't have that Bride has fantastic that I can think of is the score. There's almost no score in this movie.
oh my God, it's
so
you know what?
just
That
sound
makes it-
effects and stuff.
that makes a big difference in movies.
Yeah.
You don't realize it until you watch a movie that has no background.
Right.
You're like, okay, let's get this going.
Yeah.
But let me ask you
Well,
this.
when we watched Jaws, right?
Yeah.
And you saw the whole orchestra getting ready to play along.
yes.
You really felt how much that music gave to that movie.
So Bride of Frankenstein, just quick, is that made by the same people around
Yes.
the same time?
Yes.
Is it about the same length?
I don't know about the running time of it, but it was by the same director. It had a lot of the same people behind the scenes.
Is Colin Clive in again? I mean, do they bring back some? You bring back the same people?
Yeah, pretty for the most part. But there's new characters and all sorts of stuff going on.
Terry Garr in it?
Terry Garr not in the film.
Oh, that's Young Frankenstein.
That's Young Frankenstein.
Look at those knockers.
One of the many. We could literally talk about different Frankenstein versions for hours and never get to the bottom. There are so many Frankenstein versions.
Let's just wrap this up real quick with that.
Yep.
What's your perspective on the De Niro one? Because I did see that one. Did you like that one or not?
The De Niro one is more like the book than this one is. I don't think it's particularly good. There was a version, and my brother is laughing right now because we both love this version. There was a version that was made for television that I think was like a two-parter, 2 hours each, with Patrick Bergen and, of all people, Randy Quaid playing Frankenstein. Randy Quaid.
Really?
And that movie is almost impossible to find. In fact, I have not. But I found enough evidence that, it wasn't some fever dream. The movie exists.
Fever dream.
But that was a good movie. That was a really good movie. And my brother, having read the book, I have not read this book. I've read Dracula. I didn't read this one. But he says it's a lot more faithful to the book, which I think the De Niro one is more faithful to the book as well. But I don't think De Niro does anything with the role.
I saw it on a date, so I really wasn't watching too much. But I know that I saw it at a theater. And then, hey, because you brought up the Quaids real quick.
Yeah.
Do you, in Rollerball, when they're all sitting there, the new crop of Rollerball people?
Yeah.
I went past the scene a couple of times and rewound it. I think Dennis Quaid is in there.
I don't think so.
Well, I'll show you later.
Okay.
All right.
All right, everybody.
Quiz time.
It is. It's time for us to get quiz-tastic.
And introspective.
Oh, my God.
Who goes first? I can ask
Does
you
it
first.
matter?
I can ask you first.
Okay.
All
I
right.
hope I cleaned the board. Let me just see if I clean the board here. Okay.
Okay, do you have to close down the...
Yeah,
chat?
I'm going to switch this over to the scoreboard. There we go.
All right. So, here we go. Are you ready?
I am.
James Caan fell in love
Jimmy Caan.
with the rodeo during the shoot for the shoot that he did for the Rain People, and actually was a professional tie-down roper in the rodeo, in a rodeo.
Okay.
Maud Adams, who appeared in 3 James Bond movies,
That's probably right.
was an equestrian as a youth in Sweden.
Okay.
And John Beck, a.k.a. Moon Pie, was an amateur Chicago Golden Glove champion as a heavyweight.
See, James Caan, I know, is a pretty physical guy. He's like a martial artist with a cane. There's some form of martial arts where you do it with a cane.
Really?
And he's like an expert in that. I learned that because in the movie Misery, he walks around with a cane at the end.
Yeah.
And that was just some random...
And that tells you that he did martial arts.
So, no, it was like in some interview that he had done that. And I was like, oh, really? He certainly did his own skating and all that. So he's a pretty physical guy. Maud Adams, I believe, was in 3 total...
Well, that's not part of the question. But
Bond films. Was she an equestrian or not? I mean, I've seen her legs. I'm thinking, yeah, she probably was. Moon Pie being a boxer, he's certainly tall. Heavyweight, he probably was in heavyweight just because he was a big fella. And, you know, as we've said a lot of times when you watch these 70s movies and here's an athlete, you know, a lot of times they're putting out a cigarette and they have no abs, but that was kind of the look back then. I guess I'm going to say the lie is James Caan. Just because you kind of had him that he was not only in the rodeo, but he was like some sort of tie-down roper. That just doesn't sound right to me, so I'm going to say James Caan will be the false.
give yourself a great big 0.
Oh.
He actually earned $2,135 on the professional rodeo tour.
So it was Moon Pie.
No, it was actually Maud Adams.
Really?
I made that up.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising. She has great legs.
That's why I figured
a
you'd go
lot
for
of
it.
women with great legs turn out to be
Equestrian.
horseback riders.
No,
I've seen this in pageants.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Yes. All right. Now that we have absolutely no females.
Oh, wait. Here's the thing. I just want
Hold
people
on.
to know.
Wait a minute.
I'm going to be very introspective with my answer.
Oh, my God. Okay. Try to be introspective within a time frame. Okay. Here we go. Boris Karloff played Frankenstein well over 10 times during the classic Universal film cycle. Lon Chaney is the only classic Universal actor that played Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. Neither Bela Lugosi or Boris Karloff can claim that. And the third one, the child actor in the river scene was partially paid in hard-boiled eggs.
That's pretty cool.
So, Boris Karloff played Frankenstein 10 times. Lon Chaney is the only classic Universal actor to play the big three, Drac, Frank, and Wolfman. And the child actor paid in hard-boiled eggs.
How many did she get?
Not going into it. This is what you always do to try to get me to show my hand. I am not giving you more
Here's what Tim's doing to me. So
what am I
can
doing?
tell you that the Bela Lugosi one is
Get
true.
in the camera frame, dude.
Oh,
Yes.
I was being introspective.
Oh, okay. Do it on camera.
Bela Lugosi.
Oh my God, here it comes.
That one is correct. Now it's between Boris Karloff.
How is there one about Bela Lugosi?
Yeah, you said he played 3 different characters.
No, Lon Chaney
Oh, wait, Lon Chaney.
is the actor that played Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman.
Now it throws a little curveball in there.
Yeah, do you know who Lon Chaney?
Yeah, he was the Wolfman.
Okay.
See, I think he only played that. See, now I don't know. But see, now the thing is Boris Karloff.
Hold on a minute.
Wait, Boris Karloff played
Wait a minute.
Frankenstein, but Frankenstein died. So how could he have played 10 other times?
Okay, this I will give you. This is a lot like the MCU. People just kept coming back to life.
Okay.
It was ridiculous.
All right, so then back to this then. So then that one's going to be true. And you know what? Now, this isn't my final answer yet. But that one's going to be true. And for some screwed up reason, notice I'm not swearing, I think the egg one is true. For some reason,
Okay.
I think that egg one is true because think about it. It's the 1930s. The kid was probably poor. And they're like, we'll give you hard-boiled eggs for your family. So I'm thinking she got partially paid too, and partially. So it means she still made a little scratch, but partially. Now we have to be introspective.
Don't talk about child actors scratching.
Now we have to be introspective about Wolfman.
Oh my God.
Lon Chaney.
Let me read
I
those
think-
two again for you. Boris Karloff played Frankenstein well over 10 times.
Yeah, that was
During
right.
the classic Universal film cycle.
Yeah.
The other one was Lon Chaney is the only classic Universal actor that played Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. Neither Bela or Boris can claim that.
See, I think Lon Chaney, I think he was just Wolfman. I think he was just known for that.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking, but I'm not quite done thinking yet.
Okay.
Because
By the
sometimes-
way, folks at home, I name my backups Bella and Boris. That's what I name them.
All right, here we go. So
Okay.
the answer, the incorrect answer, the one that Tim is very false on, is the second one, the Lon Chaney one.
The Lon Chaney one.
Which one is it, Tim?
Boris Karloff only played Frankenstein
See, you
3
rat.
times.
You rat.
Only 3 times.
You rat.
He was afraid of getting typecast, which is funny because Bela Lugosi actually did get typecast, and he played Dracula a total of 4 times, and that's about it. But Lon Chaney went on to play Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. Bella only did Frankenstein and
Damn
Dracula
it.
out of there. And Boris only played Frankenstein and later on did The Mummy as well, which is now considered one of the top 3. So that's
pissed.
what it is.
This
The
sucks.
child actor getting hard-boiled eggs, the answer is she was promised 1 dozen, but actually got 2 dozen. Because the first time Boris threw her into the river, she floated. He's like, no, you got to sink because you drowned. So he said, I want to reshoot it. I'll do anything for you. And the little girl said, I really like eggs. Could you get me some hard-boiled eggs? And he was so happy with the scene, he got her not 1 dozen, but 2 dozen. This is the beginning of child actors being abused.
But here's the thing. I knew that. I knew that was a red herring. I knew that you wanted me to say that one. I knew it.
Such a little jerk.
You wanted me to say that one, and I knew that wasn't it. And the dog on it. But then you tricked me into going, well, it's the universe where they keep coming back.
I am tricky. All right. So I still have a lead. And boy, that was a bad trivia week. That was a bad trivia week for us both. But again, I am getting away with murder because I just am giving really good movies. And Jeff this is not a particularly strong season for you as far as quality of film.
It's not.
You put Stroker, Ace, and this piece of garbage. And the reason it got 2, I was like, I actually enjoyed Stroker Ace more than I enjoyed this. And that was saying something. So.
Because of Lonnie Anderson, probably.
I think it was just Burt Reynolds is good at, mugging at the camera. So let's take a look at what's coming up next week.
Knew that. I could have got 5 points.
See what we think. Here,
I'm getting killed.
We have Dead On here. Where is it? This is it. Next week, the sports movie, you gave me a horse. What is this? Horse racing?
Yeah, it's Hidalgo. It's based off of a true story about.
Looks like a Western to me. That thing looks like a Western.
It does. It takes place because he's in the Wild West show, and then he goes on to race a bunch of Arabians. It's a good
Arabian horses.
No, he's a Mustang, but he races Arabian horses.
Right. I didn't want you to say that you were racing Arabians.
No, they're racing Arabians.
Arabian horses.
No, Arabians.
Not Arabian people.
They have the towels on. They're running. The Arabians are. It's Arabians.
Okay.
You know what I'm trying to say. Stop it.
That'd be difficult. And I am giving you what I think you're going to love. Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
You know I probably will.
Now that you've seen a couple slasher films and things, you're going to recognize things and enjoy this movie. It's a funny movie.
I'm sure it is.
It's pretty violent. There's some hot women in it. I'm thinking this is right down the old Jeff train.
I might as well just bring the trophy over next week.
I suspect now.
You're gonna be so far ahead, Tim.
When I looked at the list, I was like, I am throwing trump cards at a pretty weak hand this season.
Tim, this movie, just looking at the cover, I can tell you I'm gonna probably like this.
Now, do you recognize anybody in there?
No.
Okay.
No, but you know
once you do your research, you're gonna be like, oh.
You know what this reminds me of is that one that you gave me, I think last season or season before, about the guy who wanted to be a killer. Remember, Boris or what? Remember he wanted to be, and he was acting it out.
Leslie Vernon.
Yes,
gave you Leslie Vernon.
I truly enjoyed that movie.
Well, this is
right up the same thing. I bet
it's similar. I think it's funnier. So,
and I do all my research after, so I give the movie 100% credit at first.
I think you're going to enjoy it, but you know what? We played a game to find out. So that's coming next week, which is November 2nd. It is post-Halloween.
And you might enjoy Hidalgo.
I don't know. I like Westerns, so if it's got that aspect to it, this is one of the few on your list I had not seen.
Yes.
So, yes. And I typically give movies a good chance. If I'm halfway through the movie and I'm checking out, it's hard to get me back after that. Like some movies have a strong end and I'm just like, I was already gone. I checked out.
You know why that is? Because you're not introspective enough.
Yes, that's why. All right, everybody. So I want to thank you once again. Is this it? There we go. I want to thank you once again for tuning in to this week's Dead on the Bases. Remember, you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Pandora, iHeart, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts for now, Spotify, YouTube, and other fine places you find podcasts. Now, you say, for now.
Yeah.
Google Podcasts is actually kind of they're Google and YouTube are owned by the same company, and they're kind of like, we have two platforms because YouTube also has podcasts. So I believe Google Podcasts in the next year or so is going to go away, which is unfortunate because I kind of like that app.
Yeah.
But they're going to put it all over into YouTube.
Okay.
So, but basically the short of it is wherever you can find podcasts, that's generally where we'll be. For those of you that are watching live, you will want to stay tuned. If for the after show, we'll be talking about Halloween. And we have a spectacular quiz for everybody that I worked long and hard on that I think you're all going to love playing trivia along with us. So, with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And remember, if it's sports, it's a home run. If it's horror, run home! We're dead on the bases, and we'll see you next time. You know, just you won. He's going away.
I know.
Just be happy.
I know. I'm gonna have a party. I can't wait.
Another party? You just had a party.
This is gonna be even better. I'm gonna have a pinata in the shape of his head, and I'm gonna. And when it opens up, it's gonna be little.
His head is oblong.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Yeah. He always itches his ear when he's lying. So people out in New York, you'll know he's lying. He takes his right hand and he itches his left ear. Guaranteed, it's a lie.
Wow.
See, you correct.
Wow.